Hello, Mother. Good morning to you. How are we this morning, Mom?
We're good. we're okay. Got coffee in hand. Have lots of creamer in it.
So you told me this morning that you got a new cold foam from the store, and you said not to put it in my coffee.
Right.
Because, and I quote, you probably won't like it. What's wrong with it?
Nothing's wrong with it. It just isn't, I'm not sure. It's not, you have to use extra for it to really give you any flavor or any relief from the coffee, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it is 20 calories per serving, so that kind of makes sense. It's also foamed, so you have to put like 90,000 gallons of it, you know?
Exactly. And I know you were probably going to only put 1 tablespoon in there, and that was not going to be enough.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about it, but I decided not to because of your words. Mom, I want you to introduce yourself. I want you to explain who you are. Explain to the crowd here that we have who Mama Genooo is and a little bit about yourself, because you're not a creator like you said. So give us your elevator pitch. You know, if you were dating in 2024 for whatever reason, say what you would say to, you know, somebody out that you're getting to know.
Oh boy. Okay, so I'm a dental hygienist. I clean teeth for a living. I work 5 days a week. I used to work part-time when my kids were little, because I wanted to be home with them and I wanted to raise them myself. I didn't want somebody else raising them. I had certain values that I wanted to be followed, and so it was just important that I did most of that. I loved raising my kids, did a lot of things with them, kept them busy, and really loved being a mom. But now, as my husband and I are getting older, the kids are kind of, my daughter moved out, and she's in Rhode Island, and that's a great place. We've been up there, 4 or 5 times, and it's wonderful. We love it up there. But we love to visit, and then we come back home, and doubt we'll ever move there. But you never know what the future brings, but I think we'll probably stay right here because that's what we can afford. So we live in a house that we've been in since Nick was 0 years old. He was born here. And we used to live in Mount Airy in a small 900 square foot house. And it was pretty tiny, and we could raise 1 child in it, and we did our daughter. And then when Nick came along, we didn't have enough room. He was going to be put in a bathtub, or we were going to have a bed in the bathtub, or a bed in the a drawer or something, and put him in there if we ever stayed in that house.
You told me that before. You told me that I would sleep in a drawer or something like that.
If we had stayed in that house, it was too small. So my husband was working up here in Gettysburg, so we just decided to move up to Littlestown. And we just kind of, made our way up here, and that's kind of how we got to here. So, and then I had Nick, and we all had a good time being in a little bigger house that gives a little more room, space to be away from each other. And now we have a room that has a podcast in it, and a streamer, and he's making it different, and he kind of done some great things with it. So it's nice to have a little room where he can do what he wants to do, and we can do what we want to do. And
well, people always ask me, they're like, what part of the house do you have your streaming room? And I'm like, well, not to sound like a rich, entitled white kid. We are in my second living room. So it's like right next to the door. So if anybody was to rob us, I'd be the first victim. But, other than that, it hasn't been too bad. But Mom, I wanted you to, you already introduced yourself, where you came from, what you did. I wanted to just say, first off, thank you for being on the podcast. I would be a lot more charismatic right now, but there's an echo, and so I can't necessarily scream at the top of my lungs. but I wanted to give you a little coffee cheers. It's an honor of being on the podcast.
Thank you.
Cheers to everybody in chat. Cheers to everybody listening.
Chat.
Hopefully everybody is having a great day. Mom, before we get into questions and stuff, okay? So we got a wide variety of questions here today. Before the questions, however, I want to do a story time about me growing up. Okay, so there's probably a lot of questions in chat, saying, any embarrassing moments or anything, and we've always struggled to find some. But like, do you have any favorite stories of me growing up? Whether it be recent, whether it be, when I was 3, 4, soccer, or are there any stories that come to mind, like where you really thought like this kid's gonna be stupid? Like any of those moments?
Okay, so stupid was a bad word in my household, so we weren't allowed to say that word. And so no, there were no moments that I thought you were going to be stupid. There were fun moments where, my daughter played field hockey, and Nick and I would go and watch her, and I was a pretty laid-back mom, so I kind of let him do whatever he wanted to do, and the track over there would be filled with this dark dirt that kind of lined the track. That's what it was made out of. But it was like coal or something. It was, dirty. And I would let Nick play in it. All the other parents were mad because their kids wanted to play in it. And nobody wanted them to look like Nick when they got done, because Nick was black from head to toe from playing in that stuff, and nobody else. So, it was just a story because that's just how I was. I was really laid back.
Mom, move her mic closer to your mouth.
Okay,
there we go.
Is that good?
Yeah, you did. You did some of the volume fluctuations, so you cut out halfway through some of your sentences. So okay. I was just but yeah, we're good now.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I don't remember that story at all. I remember over across the street at Nolan's, I remember I was in the sandbox, and I don't know what it was, but like somebody put sand on my back, and I don't know why I thought it would be cool, but I like ate a handful of sand. And I never told you about that, so that's probably new information to you, but I just like picked it up. I wanted to look cool.
Right.
And I ate the sand.
Yeah.
Like just a handful. Like I never told you.
I'm sure it came out the other end, too.
I don't think it did. It might
rough.
still be in my system. I'm not going to lie to you, but I think it still might be there. Yeah.
Well, it's a good cleanser for you, buddy. Yeah. Good cleanser, right?
Yeah, the sand did not taste good. It tasted quite oceany, to be quite honest with you.
I think one of my favorite things that we used to do is when it would rain, and it would rain, terrible rain, like it would pour down rain, and we'd have this big stream-like looking water gushing down the side of the sidewalk and everything else. Yeah, it was in the road pretty much. And so him and my daughter and I would go out there and run through it. I told him, I said, have fun, get wet, get dirty, whatever. And we would have the best time, the three of us, like a duck and her little ducklings, like just running through this gushing water. And we would laugh and laugh, and we would have a good time. So,
well, now thinking about that, now thinking about that, if we did that in 2024, we actually might get canceled, because running through water in the middle of the road nowadays is probably like the second coming to cancer. So I don't know if we should really, I don't know if that's something that I would ever do with my children, but it's definitely a memory that I have. Yeah. I remember with Val. So you guys during the podcast today, chat, you guys we'll hear my sister's name, Val. My sister's name is Valerie. She is she's kind of cool, I guess. But no, she before she was in college to be a nurse, and she was at home one day taking a nap because she just worked like a 98-hour shift or something like that, something crazy. and I decided that I was gonna eat some like strawberries, and so I ate the strawberries, and my lips just started puffing up, and I went upstairs. I'm like, Val, my lips are very puffy right now, and she looks at them and she goes, holy shit, like you're having an allergic reaction, let's go take a Benadryl. And she was like, she was just waking up from her nap and stuff too, and nothing ever came about it, but that's when I learned that I was really allergic to the like fruit and stuff, and like the pesticides that they use on fruit, which going into my next conversation. It's not necessarily fruit talk, but it is coffee talk, Mom. I wanted to ask you, you have always been a fan of tea. However, do you enjoy coffee a lot nowadays, yeah?
Yes.
And you enjoy coffee from a good friend of ours, which is actually in chat right now, Sir Crutch. He's the one that sends us all that coffee.
Yes.
How good is that coffee?
Oh my gosh. It was like amazing. My hands would break out for other coffees. So if you guys don't know, some of the coffee companies want to like soak their beans in certain things, and I guess, I don't know, I've been told that maybe that's what was causing some of the reactions on my hands, and I was allergic to some of it. So he sent us some that he washed differently and different ways of generating it and all of that, and it was the only stuff that wouldn't break my hands out. And at some point in time, I was like begging him for more. I'm like, Nick, he's got to get us more. He's got, because of course I like it a little bit on the strong side, but I don't like strong coffee, if that makes sense. I like non-acidic, sort of lighter coffee, but I like it a little stronger, so you have to use a little bit more. So it's like, oh my gosh, I'm all out. I can't drink coffee until we get it. And yeah, he was great at sending us so much coffee, and he was just terrific. His coffee is great. I mean, he sends it from all kinds of countries and different flavors and backgrounds in it, and it's been terrific. So.
Which, speaking about Crutch, a little shout out to Crutch. He actually just recently, he's going to start selling it here soon at some farmers markets, and then I believe he's going to make a website to where he can sell it. So
yay!
Shout out Crutch and his coffee. But no, you've always been a fan of tea when I was growing up, which is a question that I ask. Nowadays, though, you drink a lot more coffee than tea. Why did you stop drinking tea? Or was there just a specific, like, you realized that coffee is superior?
I'm not sure of that answer, Nick. I think it's tea was, I had drank so much tea. I mean, like, okay, chat, so I did at least 4 or 5 cups of tea a day. Like, I really kind of overdosed it. I would drink 2 in the morning, 1 at lunch, 1 in the evening. Now, I was one that could drink. I know what everybody's thinking. Oh my gosh, how'd she sleep? But I could drink tea and go to bed, and it actually made me sleepy. I don't know why, and I don't know how, but I don't know if it's because it was a hot drink and it kind of just put my mind to rest or whatever, but I would be able to sleep after I drank tea. So I drank it all the time, and I think eventually my stomach just did not like it anymore. And but I'm talking years and years and years of tea. You can ask everybody that is friends with me, but now I just kind of offset it with a cup of coffee in the morning, and I do enjoy that. I really like it.
Well, so I'm glad that we realized that coffee is a superior drink to all the tea drinkers in chat. Screw you guys. We hate tea.
No,
just kidding.
I still don't hate tea. I still have plenty of tea. When I go to Starbucks, I get a tea. So I don't get their coffee because it's too strong. Thank you. I can't do it. Again, it does break me out for some reason, and I just can't do that. So.
The funny thing about tea is that I drink probably like 2 to 3 cans of the liquid death tea every single day. Yeah, so I hate on tea, but I know realistically I enjoy tea.
You like it,
yeah,
right?
So, I mean, good Southern iced tea is good. That is true.
And I know Diet Coke, so I drink Diet Coke a day, but everybody's telling you that that causes Alzheimer's. And I'm going to be honest with you, me as getting older, I don't need any more Alzheimer's. I already forget things. So I need to not make my brain any worse than it is. So that's where half sweet, half unsweet tea at Chick-fil-A. And, I enjoy that. So I've been trying to do a little bit more of that instead of the Diet Coke. So.
Okay. Well, nothing wrong with Diet Coke either. Shout out Diet Coke, shout out Coke, whatever it may be.
Don't drink it.
I gotta ask though, with coffee, Mom, comes also having breakfast. So I wanted to ask you, what's your favorite breakfast? So do you have any favorite food items in breakfast, or do you have any specific favorite breakfast? Aren't you a big fan of oh gosh, what is that now? The meat and white sauce. That sounds really crazy.
Oh. Yeah, chip beef gravy, son. That's the best.
Don't you like that for breakfast? Isn't that your favorite?
Yes, I do. Over really crunchy, potatoes, and I like. That's probably my favorite meal if it's made right. I have been to restaurants before where it is not, and I do not like it. But there are other places that are perfect, and I love it.
Well, it also looks sus, and there's probably a lot of people in here that actually don't know what chip beef gravy is. So if you guys don't know what chip beef gravy is, it's literally chip beef in a white gravy. It's very hard to explain. A lot of times people put it over toast and stuff. When you look it up online, just understand that it's going to probably look gross. It does not necessarily look appetizing, but I can promise you it's actually pretty good. I like it over tater tots more than toast. Tater tots make it so much better.
Well, and it sounds terrible, too, because they have a nickname for it. Do you remember that, Nick, what the nickname is?
No. What is it?
You know what it is. SOS.
I don't, actually. I don't remember.
I think it's called shit on the shingles, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. That's the Amish.
That sounds terrible. I try not to think about that part before I eat it, because it's not like that. I don't know why they call it like that, but I think that's what it's called. But I don't call it that, so it's one of those things where
everybody in chat is saying we call that meal down here in the South SOS, aka shit on a shingle. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's it sounds terrible, but it is so good. And I love pancakes with lots of syrup and butter. And I mean, that's why I don't eat it, because if I make it here, I would eat 10 pancakes and lots of butter. And I love them soaked in syrup. So
are we deciding that pancakes are better than waffles, Mom? Is that what you're saying here?
Yes.
Pancakes are better than waffles.
Sir.
That is, we are disagreeing on that, Mom. We are disagreeing on that.
Well, it's funny that I hear Nick in here talking about different things, and I'm like, boy, we're very different. He definitely isn't in my genes, because there's a lot of things that his favorite, and it's my favorite. What was the last one? I think it was the BK. The Whopper Jr. I love the Whopper. And he's like, "Are you kidding me? That's the worst thing."
I mean,
I'm like,
we argue at this shit. You guys think on stream that we just we only argue food. Me and Mom always argue food on stream. Nah, we be at the dinner table and she'll be like, "Yo, I had a BK Whopper today for lunch." I'm like, "Mom, what is fucking wrong with you? What are you doing? What do you mean? If you're going to go the BK, the fries are the GOAT. You got to get the fries.
I like the fries,
yeah,
too.
We have agreed on that. Mom, I wanted to ask about coffee again, and this is the last question for coffee. Coffee is loved on the podcast and worldwide. However, like I said, you were a big tea person when I was growing up. What do you like most now, though? Not coffee, tea. What's your favorite drink? Do you have a favorite drink nowadays? I mean, we might have brought it up. You said Diet Coke, you said coffee, you said tea, so kind of everything has been taken. But do you have a favorite drink? Wine?
No, I don't like wine. Wine just upsets my stomach. I love a really good London Fog latte.
What is that, a Starbucks thing?
Yeah.
Is it tea? Or?
I would drink that 10 times a day if it's made right. But I have had some that are not made right, and I'll probably get some people all excited in here, but when I drive up to the drive-through and I pay $6 for a drink, it better be right. And so there have been times when they've made it with the wrong tea bag. You know, it's supposed to be Earl Grey, and they use some other Emperor Mist and something else.
Now,
and I'm like, that is not it. We can't do that.
Before you make yourself a Karen in here, you don't go back through the drive-through and yell at them, right? Like, that's not.
Oh, I would never yell at anybody, but I know now that before I leave that drive-through line, that I'm gonna look to see which tea bag they use. So if they haven't used the right one, I will give it back. But and I'll just thank them, and I say, this is, and some of them just don't know what it's made of, you know? So it's just one of those things where I'm just informing them. I'm educating.
Them dumb whippersnappers, Mom. I'll tell you what, this generation is terrible.
And I'm
can't stand them.
You know what? Every generation has great things with it. And, you know, there are different things that you all have that we did not have.
Like phones, like
phones, right?
Like technology, literally everything.
Nothing. We had nothing, people, and we didn't even have. Okay, this is going to shock everybody. We didn't have air conditioning, and so I would have to lay there and shake my feet until I could get to sleep because it was so hot.
So this is a weird thing to share with you guys, but if you guys did not know. I mean, nobody should really know this, but for like 6 years of my life, probably more than that, I slept in the same room as my mom. And now we didn't sleep in the same bed before anybody like, oh my God, you're fucking weird. Shut up. All right. My mom is before sleep apnea. So my mom has sleep apnea. Before sleep apnea, she snored like a literal, like it sounded like some sort of Star Wars movie like character. Okay, like it was bad. So my mom would not sleep in the same room as my dad because it would keep my dad up.
Yeah.
So she had to move to the same room as me, and I didn't have a problem sleeping with the snoring. So there was nights, a lot of the times, where I wake up and I hear my mom shaking her feet. Like she rubs, like, this is going to sound really weird. She rubs her feet together because, like, when she grew up, like you just said, you didn't have air conditioning. So you rub your feet together. How does that work? Explain that.
I don't know. Shaking the feet just helped take my mind off of the heat, I guess, back in the day. And, you know, we had big box fans and they would put a box fan in each room because I had a brother. And that's how we slept. I mean, that's because it was just so hot. But up here, I think it's just a habit now. And I think it's probably something like having a binky or a blankie, you know, something that kind of calms you. That's what shaking my feet probably does for me.
Well, ain't nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's a good way to kind of get around it.
Better than having a binky, although I've thought about a couple of times. I've thought about trying a binky sometime when I get pissed off or upset about something. I've thought about getting a big binky and just putting it in there, but haven't done it yet.
It's funny. Somebody in chat says, well, I do the feet thing. I'm Gen X, and I know AC as a kid. So he does the same thing. So there you go, Mom. You found your long-lost twin that do the feet thing. Mom, I wanted to move on a little bit. I wanted to talk about life. We got a lot more questions, but I wanted you to tell us your story, okay? So you can choose what to tell here, but I want you to tell chat about your childhood, you know, growing up, you know, a little bit about yourself, you know, clearly don't go on a J.K. Rowling Harry Potter book, but, you know, tell us a little bit about yourself. I did want to point out something that I think changed you in a good way. Although it was an unfortunate scenario, you mentioned before that you were bullied as a kid, so it made you have a lot more of a like a heart that cares for people, because I feel as though you never felt like you were cared for in a sense, right? So I wanted you to touch on that, but also just tell us about your childhood. You know, tell us growing up, and you know tell us everything about you.
Well, gosh, Nick. So I would be bullied on the bus. And at school, I was not a popular child, and that's okay. I didn't really need to be popular. But when you're not popular, of course, you're the one that kind of gets picked on. And this one girl would pick on me on the bus about my clothing, about everything that I wore, and nothing was good enough, and, you know, that kind of thing. And so I hated riding the bus. And I'm going to be totally honest with you. I would wake up every morning almost having a heart attack because I had to go on the bus. And I don't know how I kept pushing through, but sometimes, I mean, I guess I had to. So maybe that taught me a little bit of, you know, like of just keep moving, pushing through the scaredness, the fear. But, you know, that never went away because I really wasn't popular, so it was never going to happen. But as I got older, at about junior year, I kind of got some looks on me, and I kind of was cute. And that's when I met Nick's dad. And so it did make me stronger, but I will tell you, my children very rarely rode the bus. And it did change my mind on things like that because I did not like that. And so if I could ever drive my kids to school, or they could walk to school, and that's probably why we live behind a school, that was going to happen because I was to have it. And nobody deserves to be treated like that. And you know what? Sometimes your style isn't going to be like somebody else's. Or, you know, and I even feel bad for the person that was, you know, bullying me, because she must have been raised in a terrible household that made her feel terrible about herself, that she would pick on me. And, you know, that's not fair and it's not nice. But at the same time, I felt bad that she was being probably treated like that somewhere in her life. And so, you know, of course, I wasn't strong enough to say anything, and I was a very mild type person. So I didn't really buck the system and make terrible problem for that person. But let me tell you, I was scared every day, a lot of anxiety. And again, I pushed through it because back then you kind of didn't have emotions. You weren't really allowed to have those. So that's kind of where mom was like, da, 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 you know, and pick up your big girl panties and all that kind of stuff. And my mom really wasn't like that because I just never said anything to her, because back then you really kind of got to, it wasn't going to make any difference. It's probably a little bit like that now too, you know. They don't really help a whole lot of people who are being bullied sometimes. It's really a sad situation, and it's hard to live with every day, having somebody plugging away at about.
It's crazy because when people try and make you you know, make you a shitty person, they are also a shitty person themselves. And it sucks because, like, that whole paradox just keeps spiraling and spiraling and spiraling until everybody's negative and everybody's shitty, right? And that's why there's always that, you know, bright spot in groups and stuff that is like, you know, I try and be that for my friend group, is like the guy that, you know, wants positive change, right? Somebody that's not necessarily, that's why I like Logan and Brad so much, just because they don't worry about belittling others or putting other people down, because that, like, even my online group, you know, you talked with Saint last night, you talked with Jake, like all those guys, they don't care about like hurting other people's feelings, you know. That's a very high school mentality. But talk to me more about growing up though, Mom, besides, you know, going on the bus and stuff, like growing up and like, you know, what your hometown, you know, what school, or not what school you went to, but, you know, tell us about, you know, your mom, your dad, you know, whatever it may be, whatever you want to share.
So my hometown was really small. It had one road that went down the middle of it, and it was sort of it wasn't paved, and the school was small. But my dad graduated from there, and my brother and I both graduated from there. And it was really nice. Everybody knew everybody, and we all loved each other and watched out for each other. And, you know, it was a nice little town. And to be honest with you, I still work there. So, you know, I decided that I love the people there and I didn't want to leave it. So when we moved up here, I decided I was going to still work. And so that's because I knew everybody. And when they come in, you know, we're all groupies. We know each other. They know my dad. You know, everybody's graduated together. So I love it. It's wonderful. I do miss it. But it has changed a good bit. There's a lot of people there that we don't know. It's grown up. It's got a McDonald's and all of that kind of stuff. And it's funny because
Chick-fil-A too. I mean, come on now. It's got a bunch of good restaurants. Every time I get my hair cut, I go by Arby's or go by Jersey Mike's or Chick-fil-A. Man, they got a bunch of fast food that I wish this town had. You know, I'm not gonna dox myself here, but my town only has a few select options, and I love your town because it's so grown.
That's a lot.
You know, I think I like living because I've grown up into a small town. I think we're different in that sense, Mom, because like you grew up in a small town and you wanted to move to a small town, right? You liked a small town. I think I'm different in that sense, but I grew up in a small town and I want to see, you know, what a big town has to offer. You know, that's why I always have looked at, you know, North Carolina, South Carolina, whatever it may be. But I think that's definitely where we're different. I wanted to bring up, Mom, my sister. Okay, so I'm sure we're going to talk about her a lot this year. Or not this year, but this podcast is, if you guys did not know, chat, I mentioned this earlier. I have a sister. One thing that a lot of people don't know is my sister is actually 10 years older than me. And I always tell Mama Gina that I'm a mistake. She's never going to admit it. She's shaking her head, but she knows damn well. You know, it's too late to take me out now, chat. I mean, come on now. Like, it's too late to take me out now. You know, if I was a mistake, I'm telling you, it's too late to take me out. I've already solidified something here, you know? So I have a body, you know? And I'm going places. Talk to me. What about
Yeah,
Val?
we're going to be talking. We are going to be talking, Nick and Nodal.
It's only a joke. But I wanted to talk about Val. What made you choose to have?
We're going back to the mistake.
Okay. Yeah.
You were not a mistake. Were you planned? No. Was Valerie planned? No.
Okay.
We said that we were going to wait a year and a half to have Valerie. Guess what? She came in 6 months.
Okay.
Okay? Does that make her a mistake?
No.
Okay. It's just that she was unplanned. Okay? We weren't sure if we wanted to have a second child.
Yeah.
Okay? But we didn't do anything about it to make it not happen, but we just weren't sure what we wanted to do with having a second child. But when we did have you, we are so blessed to have you, and it was not a mistake. That's a way different word than being unplanned. But so Valerie was unplanned too, Nick. So
I think I like calling myself a mistake because I've always been the underdog in a situation. So even if I am not a mistake, I like calling myself a mistake. So it's just like one of those things. Anyway, I wanted to talk about Val. To talk to me, why did you have me 10 years after Val? So, like, what was the thought process behind there?
Okay, so we had you 10 years later because Valerie cried a lot. And I could only handle one child at a time. And your dad worked all the time. You know how Dad was never home.
Yeah.
But he had his own business, and that's what he had to do to make the business big and produce and be able to take care of his family. So he had to work 24/7. He was gone all the time, chat. Wasn't even home on the weekends. So I had a child by myself and pretty much taking care of it by myself. But if I had two by myself, I always told him if I had a second one right on top of Valerie, I probably would have gotten divorced because I would have been so frustrated that I needed help, you know? And so it was just best if I didn't push it. I knew my limitations, and I knew that having a second one, especially if they cried all the time like Val did, I wasn't going to be able to handle it. So it was me. I just couldn't do 2 at a time when they cry all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you waited so that, when one stopped crying, the other one started. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, how was Val's childhood growing up? You always say that, we were the best kids growing up, but I mean, realistically, like I was better, right? Like, for sure?
For sure. No.
Oh, come on now, Mom. Give me this. Give me this victory.
Tell you, this is how I feel about people. And this is how I feel about life. And this is my empathetic form. We're all different. There are reasons that we are who we are. And it's a lot of times it's how we were raised. And some people can't help that they were raised in a bad situation, but they have those situations and they have to do the best that they can to get through it. And so who am I to judge anybody? And I just think each one of you has strengths and weaknesses. We all have them. And I said weaknesses because that's part of having a strength. If you don't have a weakness, you don't have a strength. So it all works together to make you a well-rounded person. And you just learn through the mistakes and then you celebrate during the other parts, and that's just part of how I feel about each. And you both were awesome kids. Did you have moments of where you might have wanted to tell me a lie, Nicholas? Sure.
No.
But, we worked it out, and I told you not to do that, and you didn't do it again because you were going to jail.
Yeah. I was going to prison. Okay. Chat, if you guys don't know the story, the reason that she's laughing hysterically and I was crying in the car the whole ride there. I decided that so I had a weekly agenda for school. And so I decided, I didn't want to ask because I think I got like a really bad grade that week or something and it was in my agenda. And I'm not going to lie to you. I forged my sister's signature.
Yeah.
And I just put I wrote my sister's signature from the week before. I was in like 4th or 5th grade. I literally copied the signature and put it onto that week to make it look like my sister did it. And then it came back like a week later. My mom found out somehow. I really don't know how. I really don't. And so instead of, scolding me like a normal parent would do, she decided to take me to a prison. And she said that she was going to show me somebody who forged. And it is safe to say that I have never and I will never forge ever again in my life. I was crying the whole ride there. My mom, she looked like she was laughing.
I was not, but because when you really were starting to have a heart attack, I decided to pull over the side of the road. Did we ever make it to the jail,
no,
Nick? Did we ever make it?
But you said you were going to show me somebody that forged, and I
was going to show him what it was like to be in jail. Because let me tell you, if you keep forging somebody's name, that's where you're going to end up one day, and you ain't gonna like it.
See, the thing is, now looking back at this, I feel like we just drove around. Like you didn't You didn't drive me to a prison, did you?
No, but I knew where the prison was, and we were headed there. But at one point in time, I decided I was just going to drive you around.
Yeah, you fooled my dumb ass, dude. I was like...
And then we finally pulled over, and I said, you know what? I'm not going to do that to him right now. He's only in 4th grade.
Yeah.
And if it happens again, guess where you were headed?
Yeah, prison. Yeah. I figured. She was going to show me somebody that committed a heinous, like tax fraud or something like that. It was a crazy experience.
It would have only taken the fence with the razors around the side of the, that go around in circles.
Yeah, you could have found that anywhere around here. You could have probably gone to a damn jail or not a jail, a bank around here and it got that. Jeez. And then another time, I don't know if you remember that. You do remember this because it's something that I remember vividly. So there was one year, 3rd grade. I remember this. I was leaving school, and I had my end of the year report card. And I'll be honest with you, my mom has always, been adamant about me getting good grades. And don't get me wrong, I'm very thankful for that because it kept me in line. I wouldn't have been a good student if I didn't look at my grades. And so I decided I got a C+, bro, a C+. Like I've never had a C on my report card ever. So I was like, okay, my mom is going to kill me. All right. I was like, my mom is literally going to shoot me right here. And so I threw it in the trash can while walking back to the car. And she asked where my report card was. And I pulled the excuse of, I pulled a bunch of different excuses. The teacher one, I said that the teacher was going to give it to my mom during the summer sometime. And that didn't work out because I want to say that my mom asked the school about it. And then on top of that, the second excuse that I pulled was that the wind was so rough that day that it flew out of my hands and it is in the trash. It is now floating around in the wind system.
Yes.
And so, yeah, that was an experience. She found out. She scolded me, but then she also sent me to Sylvan. And I don't know if anybody knows what Sylvan is, but it is a...
You poor thing. I really knew how to torture my children, although I'll be honest, I don't spank. So it's going to be a natural way of teaching them not to do it again, or there's going to be another way we're going to kind of get things going here.
She mentally spanked me, chat. Okay, she never pulled out the wood spatula, bro. She always would hit me with this mental fucking warfare back in the day. When I would act up in the car, she'd pull over on the side of the road. She's like, "Get out." I'm like, "Mom, you're not gonna leave me." She's like, "Get out now." I'm leaving you. You're gonna walk home. I'm like, "Mom, we are literally like 45 minutes away." Like, what do you mean I'm gonna walk home? She's like, "Get out."
Okay, chat. Hold on. Okay, he's not quite getting that correctly.
Whoa.
So I would take my children. One of the things was you act right or you're standing beside so I pulled over. My kids will never be left somewhere by themselves. That will not happen as to me, and that will not happen to them. I will never leave them alone. I will never leave them stranded. I would never do that because I love them with all my heart. But they're not going to sit and fight in my back seat. They're not going to not be able to be normal, natural, grown-up human beings. So I pulled over and I stood him beside a pole and I stood there with him. But I said, we're not getting in the car until you all are going to act right. And so it only took 5 minutes of tantrums. And then I did the same thing to Valerie.
Yeah.
And we got back in the car and I didn't hear another word from him. So...
It works.
It works.
It works.
It's just then they don't ever want me to do that again, so they're going to behave.
I literally have a fear of being like, I have a fear. Yeah, I was mentally spanked. Chat, send help. Not actually, but send help.
Well then, so are you saying I should have spanked you?
No. I'm very thankful that I don't have to worry about if my behind is going to get spanked or not. That is a great feeling. I'm glad.
Okay, so can I add one thing to this?
Yeah.
Can I tell you why I was like that? Natural consequences were way better than spanking them because when I was a child, you're going to learn something from me now, okay?
I probably already know this.
My pants were pulled down and I was spanked with a bear behind. And up until 13, I guess, my dad thought I should still have and that was not going to happen. My pants were not going to be pulled down. And I ran away from him, and this was in a mall, okay? And that was not going to happen. And so I will never spank my children. It just was not going to happen. So we were going to figure out something natural that was going to work for them than me spanking them, because I didn't appreciate it when I was being done. So I would never do that.
Okay. Well, no, I appreciate that. I appreciate not getting spanked.
Not getting your pants pulled down?
Yeah, that was
That's a private part. You don't show everybody your private parts.
Yeah, no. I'm very grateful for that. Do not worry. Do not worry. Mom, I want to ask, do you have any embarrassing moments as a parent?
Oh, gosh.
Anything that you like?
I do. It's not with you. It's more with Valerie.
Okay.
But she played field hockey. Well, yes, it was with Nick also. Okay, so when they played sports, I am not a quiet person. Okay, I'm very loud, and I am the parent that's almost out there kicking the ball for them. Okay, so I get kind of crazy on the sideline, and everybody knows who I am, and everybody knows that I'm their parent because I've only yelled their name about 100 times during the game, and I'm talking yelling. I am not talking a light voice, okay? And so that would embarrass me. And one lady did say, well, you really know who your children are. And it's like, oh boy, I must really get crazy. But it was just, I wasn't yelling bad things. I was just telling them to go, you know? I was yelling good things, because I wouldn't do that to my kids. I'm not in for embarrassment, because I was embarrassed all of my life. When I was bullied, I was not going to bully my children. So,
I mean, I don't blame you in any sense of supporting your children. Were you like that when I played soccer?
Yes.
What? I don't remember.
I was like that. And I mean, I probably ran from one side of the field to the other side of the field, telling you to go. And you, of course, my children were always the aggressive kids that were making all the, the goals and everything.
Yeah, I averaged like 12 goals a year in my soccer.
Yes, he did.
No,
there was one game, he was 10 goals in one game. And it was like, whoa, Nick. So
I was one of them kids that just I had no care in the world. And when I got slide tackled, I remember it's actually a friend of mine now. The first time I got slide tackled, and I was like 6, 7, 8 years old, something like that. Like, I just don't. It's funny to me looking back at that. Like, I got so mad at him because I thought it was like a dickhead move, but it's just like it's how. It's how soccer is, but I was good at soccer. I always tell people
you were really good at soccer, but when it became time to travel, you did not want to travel soccer. And I'm like, come on, Nick, you're so good at this. And you would not do it. I could have pulled your leg off and you still wouldn't have done it.
Was it really? I thought it was, I don't know why, but I thought it was. Did I not want to play travel? I thought I did, and we couldn't because Dad worked all the time. And you also worked, and it was hard.
No, you didn't want to do it, or I would have had you in that, and I would have figured out how to get you there.
I tell people all the time, I was so good at soccer that I genuinely believe I could have played like D2, D1 soccer.
I think so.
I was good, bro. Like, I was like lights out. And now it's not necessarily a good time to tell you guys this, because I have the most biased person in my life on the other side. But I'll tell you what, right now, chat, I was goated, bro. Like, I'm talking like, you guys think I'm good in Tarkov? You guys think I'm good in Tarkov, bro? Like, nah, I was a different breed in soccer. Like, I'm talking different.
Well, Nick was one of these that every time he touched something, he was great at it. Like, as in, like the baseball, he never wanted to be in baseball. One of the young boys that was his friend told him that it was boring and that you stand out there and it's boring, don't do it. So he would never do it, but he'd go over the neighbor's house across the street, he'd throw a ball, and the guy said, he needs to be in baseball, he has a heck of a throw. And I said, I know, but I can't get him to do it. And I could never get him to do baseball. So I think he could have been good at a lot of sports. Some kids are really great at sports and some kids aren't. but that's okay. They're great at something else that the sports person isn't great at. So everybody's great things, and some people have great things in other parts.
I'll be honest with you. I am a little bit thankful because I'll be honest, I wish I could have played football, but I wish I would have been a kicker. I wish I would have been the school's kicker, so I didn't take, tackles and stuff. Now finding out about my Chiari, and then there's so many people in chat, I'm sure, can concur that they have, lifelong injuries and lifelong back pain from playing high school football. So I'm very thankful that I wasn't able to, or I wasn't necessarily into that, right? But I did want to play football growing up, but
he did.
Mama Gina would not let me, which is I'm thankful for.
I had a neck injury, and I told him he could play in 9th grade, and that's when they start working you out. You have to go to the gym and work out and build up your neck muscles to be able to handle the hits and everything. But before then, you're just hitting without any neck muscles. And I said, that is not happening until you're ready to work out, get your neck muscles built up so you can handle the hits. Yeah. And then we found out before he could get, we got somewhere along the way, and we ended up in Children's Hospital, and they accidentally found his Chiari, and his Chiari is on the, he's a 7 out of 10, which makes him pretty high up there. And he can never hit straight on to things like that. He cannot.
I'm just a 7 out of 10 on the handsome scale. That's all it is, Chad. It's not severe.
Handsome scale.
Yeah, it wasn't, guys. They were just saying I was cool. Okay, that's all it was. Mama Gina's making. The 7 out of 10. It wasn't severe. I was just really fucking cool. Okay, that's all it is. Okay, but Mom,
he just had to be careful. That's all.
Yeah. Mom, moving on, I wanted to ask a little bit about gaming. Now, you mentioned it yesterday that you don't know much about gaming. You've never really played video games, and that's okay. But I know you don't know much about it. But did you ever play games growing up? Not even video games. Did you play board games and stuff like that? And what were some of your favorite games to play?
We used to play games all the time because we didn't, this is going to sound weird, guys, but we didn't have a VCR, so you didn't even watch movies. We had a TV, but there's only so much TV you can play. So I always asked my dad, I said, well, what did we do if we never watched movies, like that? And he said, we played games. And so we used to play board games. We used to play Monopoly and all of that, but we did a lot of card games, and I really love that. I forget how to play now, and we were just talking about that not too long ago, about learning how to do that again, because we used to play Rummy and all of those kinds of games, and a lot of those are a lot of fun. And so we did play a lot of games, but I've gone to the wayside now when you can turn the TV on. So kind of different now. I
like board games, but I'll be honest with you, it's hard to get in the board games when you're older, because I just don't have it would be boring with just me and you, or it would be boring with just me, Brad and Logan, so I've never gotten into it because I don't necessarily have the people to play, but
well, you and Brad and Logan used to play Monopoly all the time. Now one of your other friends used to play with you.
Yeah,
you had 4 people. And that was pretty cool, people, when I would come home and they'd be playing Monopoly on my kitchen table. I just thought that was the best. I love having people at my house. I used to love the friends being here, and I love that he had friends and they were all here and having a good time.
So I don't know if this is like anybody else's mother out there, but once you mention that you have friends coming over or any form of guest, your mother turns into a literal gremlin and cleans the entire house in a span of 8 seconds. I'm talking refrigerator clean. I'm talking counters cleaned. I'm talking top of the cupboard clean. Everything's just clean whenever I mention a single ounce that a friend's coming over. As if they're gonna judge the house because it's not oh my God, it's so dirty in here. What are they gonna say?
It's true. But the one thing, so this was kind of a funny moment where Nick was going with his with two friends, and the dad was driving them up to, I think it was New York, wasn't it, to the CS:GO?
Yeah.
And they were going to the convention part, and I made sure they had treats. They had snacks. And man, I didn't hear the end of me giving them too many snacks. It was like
she gave us a
coming
grocery
out of their
she gave me a grocery bag full of candies and chocolate. And don't get me wrong, it was great. All right, like I was snacking, but I'm not gonna lie, I think I nearly puked on the ride up because I had too many chocolate bars and Slim Jims. My one friend Brad, one friend Brad has a dad. He drove us up. It was Tony, and Tony always makes fun of me, or not makes fun of me, but he always jokes about it. He's like, you know, if we ever go on a trip, just tell your mom to do some, meal prep or something for the trip. I'm like, all right, Tony, I got you 100%. But yeah, no, there's a lot of stories that mom overpacks things 100%. You guys don't understand how many suitcases. There's a reason that this motherfucker don't fly. All right? Like, I'm serious. She don't fly because she would cost the airline like $900 in suitcases. So, but yeah,
I'm getting better, chat. I'm getting better. I don't need 10 pairs of underwear for 2 days. I know.
Yeah, well, I think you're not the only one. So if it makes you feel any better, so you play games growing up and stuff. You going back to the gaming thing. You played games growing up. You played card games, rummy, all of that sort of thing. How's it been seeing the crave like for gaming, like the craze, right? Like we've been seeing some incredible stuff recently in regards to gaming. How has it been seeing like the making of gaming, because like you were around when the first video games were made, and then now it's a big massive thing. So like, how has it been?
Well, it's definitely been different in all aspects, because it's not only the gaming world, but the computer world. They keep coming with faster and bigger and more lights and different color lights, and then the phones can literally tie your shoes. It's like, it's just becoming bigger. Some of it's better, people, some of it isn't. But it's like things like being able to look something up or Google something. We just guessed. I mean, there was no way we could find out about anything. Imagine wanting to know an answer or having a problem with something and you can't Google it. What do? Like, that's how it was. And so you just didn't have any way to find out the answers unless there was some doctor or some other situation where somebody knew something. But there was no way to find anything out. So I loved the gaming. I loved watching Nick. When he was in CS:GO, I love watching him play that game. And man, when he would shoot 4 people at one time, I was like, get them, buddy, get them. And it was just exciting to kind of see all of that. And then when we went to the convention, that was even awesome. And it was really great. I mean, there's an energy there that you just don't even know exists in this world, So it's definitely, I think, giving you the ones that are really good at gaming and really want to do that and be in it. It's hard work. It's not something you take lightly. You all work hard to do what you do. And so it is a job. It is a job. It is not easy. But boy, it's exciting when you get the end results that you want. And it's just like having a job, and getting a job and getting your college education. And, at the end, you have a situation where you're bigger and better at it. But it's definitely gone way further than I ever thought it would. But that's like everything else. I can't even imagine what it's going to be 10 years from now.
Yeah, no, the future of gaming is going to be crazy. I think I told you about the VR thing I did in Austin or Fort Worth. It was really, really cool. It was like a ginormous room, like a football field size room, and you move around in the game. Like when you move, it moves the character in the game. And I think the future of gaming is going to be...
that's weird.
Yeah, it felt like I was like there was times I was getting chased by people, so I would run away from them. So it was like,
oh my gosh.
Like I have not worked out that hard in my entire life. Like I was sweating so badly. But no, it's really cool to see the future of gaming. How was the esports thing for you? Wasn't it kind of crazy? Like, especially, somebody in your generation, right? They're used to fucking, sports and football and, football stadiums and high school football, going to a convention where there's a bunch of gamers, like, was it cool, or how was that?
I absolutely loved it. I actually miss it.
Yeah.
But it's just awesome when all of those, all of them can get together, all the gamers, all the people that are interested in get together, and there's just a chant, there are lights on, and there's just all kinds of, and when you look up on the stage and there's like, it's got to be awesome being on the stage. I mean, that's got to be like a great feeling, like overly just exciting. I loved it. It was a lot of fun. I think that's why we enjoyed it with you. But I'm going to be with you. I'm going to be honest with you, Chad. I'm sure Nick's told you that in the beginning, we weren't on board as fast. We were always open-minded. Us as parents are always open-minded when we come to our kids, because my daughter, she wanted to be an astronaut. Okay, let's go. So we looking into schools to go to be an astronaut, and I get the big thing that you look through to see the space, and all of that. And, I got her very interested in it. And so we just go head first into it. Now she decided that wasn't for her. So, but I was like that with my kids. I was wholeheartedly 100% in on whatever they wanted to do. Not knowing the streaming department very well, he had to kind of just work a little harder. So he showed me, I will have to say that one streamer that Nick, I don't remember who he was, but he was from another country. And his dad had thrown out all his computers. I think he lost at least 3 computers because his dad
It was a esports player.
Out the window, people. Yeah. I mean, like, you're throwing a computer out the window because he did not want his child doing this. And he ended up this big, a famous, it's just crazy how well he was doing for himself financially and everything else. And his dad had to say he was sorry, and really regretted doing everything he did. I just didn't want to be the parent that regretted doing all that. So I decided at that point in time I was on board, and we would support you as best we could, driving you wherever we needed to, and so on.
Well, I appreciate that. Now I can, afford my own flights and stuff. If you want to go to these conventions, you can go. You can come with me one time. With GCX is a little early. TwitchCon might be a little early too. But if you want to come along, you could come to Fort Worth. Come to Texas with me if you want.
I might just do that sometime.
Yeah,
Nick.
there not a lot of chants and stuff like there is in an esports arena, but there's a lot of, everybody would just be so delighted to meet you. Like, everybody there would, give you a big hug and everything. There's so many nice people and stuff. But I wanted to move on. I wanted to ask, I think I already know the answer to this question, but if there's one thing I should change as a creator, what would it be?
Oh, gosh. The one thing.
Yeah. Well,
can you guess?
Yeah, I can guess it. I'm not going to guess it because I know it.
It's chat. You even know it. I've only told you a gazillion times. Stop cussing. Stop that language. I did go in and watch some other other streamers, and they're famous streamers, and they don't cuss like that. And it's like, no, we don't need the F word in there, and we don't need all that other stuff. You don't need that to be famous. You don't. So I don't need you to stop it all, but just I need to record him sometime and have him hear how many times he says the F word and everything else. So that's all I'm going to say. I love him dearly, and it will never change my thought processes of all of this, and it will never change me loving him. That is not a deal breaker for me, but he just needs to kind of, work on it.
So let me just bring up an example real quick. She got mad at me for cussing so much on my stream, and she went to Ninja's stream, and she goes, have you ever heard of Ninja? And I'm like, Mom, yes, at the time, he was the biggest streamer in the world, like peak. And she was like, well, he doesn't really cuss a lot. I'm like, Mom, he plays a kid's game. Of course he's not going to cuss a lot. She was like, oh, this guy doesn't cuss a lot and he does great. So that means you don't have to cuss. Because I've always said that I cuss. I don't cuss a lot off stream. I do.
He doesn't at all.
I don't cuss off stream. I cuss on stream because hearing fuck after stream or during a really cool clip, holy fuck, that's funny as shit. Or content, that's good. You know what I'm saying? When I watch my POV back and watch my videos back, and I see me react holy shit, I just got that guy so fucking well. I think it's fucking good. It looks good. It's it flows well. But off stream, I don't cuss. Like Mama Gina just said, I don't cuss. In fact,
he doesn't.
There was a period of time where I went to my friend's house and I accidentally said a cuss word, and I literally could not stop thinking about it. Right? And I didn't say the full thing. I think I just said SH and shit. And I regret it. I literally lost sleep that night because I was like, dude, I can't cussing.
You can't let it go into that world.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a work-life balance thing that I only cuss on stream, and I cuss in voice calls with my friends and stuff, but you know how it is. Whenever I'm on my computer, it's just initiates a demon inside of me.
The thing is, Nick, is that if there's a girl interested in you and you're interested in her, and the parents start coming into the play and they kind of come in and watch you, that is not that it some of those parents are going to come off and say, I wouldn't go with that guy because he's just a little too much in the cussing department, because they're going to think you do that on a normal basis, and that's not really how you are at all. That is just so totally opposite you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's definitely something that I keep online for sure.
I don't need you to stop completely. I'm not saying that. You don't have to be, a goody two-shoe. I'm just saying that you don't, it just,
Yeah.
Okay,
no,
you got it.
I get what you're saying, 100%. You've told me probably 40,000 times now, which I respect.
Not 40,000. I'm trying not to nag you.
Maybe 38,000, something like that. Mom, I wanted to ask. I've always said that if I die at a young age, pray to God that never happens.
Okay.
I always said that you're gonna take over, and can you still do that for me? If I died today, would you be able to come in a week later, however long it takes you to heal, would you be able to come on stream and stream for me and keep care of the community? They'll keep care of you. Saint will do a lot of the modding, okay? He might even help me schedule some stuff, right? All I need you to do is just show up, talk to chat for a little bit. Would you be able to do that?
Probably. I would probably be able to come on and talk to people and just talk about you and what I remember about you and how awesome you were and all of that. But I'll be honest, I have thought about that. I think because we've talked about it every once in a while, it's not something we talk about all the time.
Yeah, it's not like a normal
we don't talk
discussion.
about dying around here or anything like that. But I have thought how I would tell chat that you passed away.
Oh, I think about it all the time.
It would be really hard for me. I don't know if I could get through it. I don't know if I could tell them.
I can tell you right now that you would not be the first one to tell my chat. It would probably be Brad or Logan or one of those two, because they're online. You don't have any access to my socials.
You're right.
So you would have no way of telling people, right? Like you would have to, Brad would hear about it or Logan would hear about it, right? So
yeah,
it's definitely something, but nah.
It's not going to happen, chat. We're good.
I've always told chat that they better keep their sub after I die. And if I ever die, they better keep their subscription so it supports you. You know, it goes to your bank account instead, you know, so.
Interested in bank accounts when it comes to chat. I just love having everybody in here. And I'll be honest, I love that my son can be a part of a group and can be here for people who need you. Like there are times when we're down and out and we just need a smile or we need a friendly, it's okay, it's going to get better, or you know, like just have a light that helps other people. I often have told Val that when she walks in a room, she has a light. And I feel that way about you too. I just don't say it as much to you because you're a son. That doesn't go over.
Put your mic a little. Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, I just like that you help other people, and if you're on here, you're helping them just by being here.
See, we got two different sides of the spectrum in regards to your children, Mom. See, Val is a literal fucking doctor, and she's over here actually helping people, you know, better their health, and I'm over here bettering the mental health sort of thing.
Yes.
And it's crazy because if you think about it, we are completely different in that sense, because although we're both helping people, I think it's funny, right? Her job is taken incredibly serious, right? Like doctor. You know, like that's a fucking deal, you know?
Right.
When you look at me, you just think I'm a fucking nerd. You know, people think I'm realistically, when I'm at the dinner table with my family during Thanksgiving, they have no idea what the fuck streaming is. And I try and explain them in the most broad terms. Like the first time, and I've said this on like every podcast guest, the first time I told my grandmother about subscriptions and subs. Okay, she was like, how do you get paid? I'm like, I get paid through subs. And she says, oh, that's awesome. And then 5 minutes later, she came to me. She was like, Nick, what subs do you get? Jersey Mike, Subway, Firehouse? I'm like, Grandma, like subscriptions. Like I told her it's like a TV service. She was like, she thought I was getting paid in fucking Jersey Mike's Club Supremes. You know, it was hilarious to me. But no, my extended family doesn't really know anything about streaming. I kind of keep it from them just because I think Tim knows. You know, my mom has a brother. His name is Tim. He looks at my merch store occasionally and looks at all of that sort of thing. But yeah.
Yeah, but Nick, you have to understand that you are on the cusp of new things happening. Yeah. And there are a lot of old people in the older generation that just need to be taught about it. That's why they ask questions and they don't really understand, because you're right. I mean, but we're new. It's nothing against streaming. It's just that that the older generation doesn't really understand it. And all you have to do is tell them, and they still don't understand it, but it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, it's up and coming. And it's going to be, you know, a big thing. So,
yeah, no, I fully understand it. I don't hate anybody for it. I don't like despise somebody for not knowing.
Yeah,
it's just I wish I was taken more serious sometimes. Even though I feel like I'm taken serious, like I feel like a lot of people just like, this isn't even my family. Like a lot of people in the outside world just look at me as some nerd who plays video games. You know, I wish people realized, you know, the purpose that I try to bring during every stream, but it happens with every job, so I'm not too worried about it. So I brought up, if I died, you're going to take over, so you're willing to do that for me. Yeah. I do want to, you know, that was a really deep question, but I am going to show you some pictures. I actually found some old pictures, and I'm going to show them to you too. Let me just get this set up for the podcast and stuff. So we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna do this, and I'm gonna take away my camera. Oh, sorry. And then I'm going to share my screen. And yeah, so that's exactly what we're gonna do. I'm gonna share my screen. I'm gonna go to my DMs with Saint. Leaked. Okay, all right. First off,
gosh.
I found some pictures that I wanted to show you. These are deep located in my phone, so I was able to find some really good pictures. So this right here is my family. As you guys can see, little Genooo here. You can see my dad. You can see my sister in the background. You can see my mom. I believe this is when she graduated college. I believe. Yeah, I wouldn't have been around really. I mean, I was around, but when she graduated high school,
nursing school.
Yeah, that was when she graduated college. This is my whole family. Not the best quality picture, but that's okay. I also have some other pictures here. This one I thought would be funny for all of you guys.
Gosh.
So a while ago, me and my sister decided that we were going to go, or me, my sister, and my mom, you know, as women, they like going and shopping at Victoria's Secret. And my sister looked at me and she's like, put on this bra. And I'm like, what are you on? You know, she's like, put on this bra. And so I put it on and I made a picture. And so you guys can tell, I don't know how old I was. I was probably like 12 or 13 at this time. I don't know. I've always looked young. You know, I've always looked young. So, I have a bra on, you know, as you guys can see, 36A, by the way.
We got him into something. I don't know what it was, but it is what it is.
Yeah, these are for like boobs or something like that. I think like that, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah, something like that.
Very good, Nick.
I found another picture. This is from the wedding. This is my mom and this is my sister. You guys can see. My sister looks just like me, but in female form. But yeah, this is my sister. You guys can see right here. This is my sister. This is my mom. You know, this is them during the wedding or right before the wedding. We had the smallest wedding ever, by the way. It was like, how many people? Like 9?
14.
14? It was 14 people. So it was, yeah, it was something else. But this is, as you guys can see, this is Mama Genooo at the wedding. And then this is, that's my sister Val. You know, wasn't that your wedding dress? No, it wasn't.
No, we didn't go there. We tried, but it just was too small. So I was very tiny when I got married. I was only a size 2.
Oh.
Yeah.
You were.
I know. I need to go on a diet, people.
I don't know about all this.
Diet.
Well, this picture was taken when you were on like a really bad, like
really terrible diet.
It was bad. Like you ate like 2 eggs a day, and it just like it.
About it.
Yeah, that was a crazy time.
You should have put the one of you up there, Nick, with the sunflower.
No, this ain't about me. This isn't a podcast about me. Come on now, Mom. Come on now.
Right. Well, you're in there. You're in the family.
Yeah. And then I have one last little selfie. I don't know if you remember this. This is during Thanksgiving. 2-3 years ago, but I wanted to
look different.
Yeah, I look a little bit different. I don't got the stupid hair that I got on now, but I do look a little.
Your hair, Nick.
I do. I feel like my face is less pudgy, for sure.
Yeah.
Like I don't got the.
I think it's the angle you're in, but that's me and my Nicky Noodle. I love to snuggle people. That's my middle name is Snuggle.
Yeah, she has always come up with the word snuggle, and I like snuggling as well, but I'll be honest, I'm 22 years old. Sometimes I don't want to go, sit next to the fire with a hot cocoa and, snuggle with my parents, so to speak, so, but no, this is a selfie I decided to bring up, but that is, I wanted to show you, some pictures and stuff, for you. There's.
Aww, thanks, Nick.
Yeah, so that's
great.
That's what we call the throwback section. Let me unshare my screen here. Let me share my camera again. Back, bada boom, bada bing. All right, there we go. I had those to share with you. Shout out Saint. I set them to his DM. So, and I'll be honest, his reaction when I originally sent him, he just says "wow" with an emote. Because he probably saw the one with me in a bra, and I don't think he was expecting that on
That's a little too much TMI.
On a random information or on a random Friday, so who knows?
Yeah.
But no, I wanted to move on. I wanted to ask you a throwback question. If you could give yourself advice growing up again, what would you say? Like, what would you give yourself advice in?
I would tell myself to think the way I do now back when I was younger. Like now, I don't really care if somebody cares about my clothing. I don't care if somebody doesn't like my hair. I don't care. I'm too old to care about it. And I should have thought that back then, where it didn't really matter what they thought. I was still a great person, and I still am headed to do great things in life, and that it was a passing moment. Somebody was telling me yesterday about seasons, and you have to look at it as, okay, it was just a season. It might be a season that lasts a day, or it might last a couple months, but you just have to hang on until that season passes, and then it'll be better. And so I wish I had kind of known more about that. I wish I had known more about mental health back then. I wish I had been able to tell myself that I'm loved. I know that's where I get my love for God. I know you guys know I'm spiritual. I don't talk about it a lot because I don't try to pull anybody any which way. It has to be a special relationship with you and him, not me. So it's all in how you find yourself talking to him or being with God in your moments. And my moments led me deeper and deeper in a relationship with God. So I guess if all those bad parts had to be there to make a stronger spiritual person, then so be it. But it was rough, and I wish I could have. And it's funny because I don't remember ever being suicidal, but back in the day when I'm reading some of my journals, I do talk about God just taking with it. And so that part just kind of like makes me sad for me, but at least I knew that I would head to be with God if something did happen. So I just wish I knew now. I knew then what I know now.
100%. I think it's important that you realize in life that sometimes, like you said, the seasons, I've always said to people that you got to appreciate the rain to get to the rainbow. That's like one of my favorite quotes, right? So it's very important. But moving on, Mom, I wanted to talk about more life and stuff. You brought up God, which I'm going to bring up in this section. So I'm glad that you brought that up. I wanted to ask, how are you as a person? Like today, how are you? I mean, you don't got a lot going on. You said you were nervous for the podcast, but like other than nervousness, or how are you as a person? Just how are you?
I'm okay. I wish that so you all don't know this because you're not old enough. But as you get older, hormones change, different things change, your mind changes as you get older, and it reacts to different things. And so when I was younger, when stressors would come on, I would not be affected. I was just straight on, what are we going to do to fix it? How are we going to fix it? Okay, Lord, take me in the right direction, discernment, so on and so on. Pray and get through it. Now it affects my psyche. Like it kind of takes me down a level because it makes me nervous. So I guess what you can say is maybe my anxiety just kind of has gotten a little bit more with me getting older. I was never like that before, never let anything bother me. Now things bother me differently. So it's just me trying to reroute. And again, I think it might just be God trying to tell me that I need to let go a little bit more and not try to control everything and let him take control in it as I'm kind of graduating into a deeper connection with him, that's kind of what I have to do. And maybe that's why my stressors get bigger. So,
I mean, that's okay. Stress is relative to you. It doesn't matter if it's a big stressor or a small stressor. So many people have told me that, like, sometimes the smallest things that stress other people are big to other people.
yes.
Right? Like if you're afraid of DMing your friend because he's going to make fun of you, realistically in the scheme of things, right? Like that's such a small stressor in life because there's other people out there. But to another person, that could be the biggest thing in their life, you know? Like, so I mean, it all comes down to perspective, and it's important to realize that perspective. But I'm glad that you're doing well other than the anxiety. Hopefully you have been enjoying your coffee. I'm going to go back to the family and friends thing. Do you think you balance your life well? Like work, friends, family. Do you feel like you balance it all well?
Yes and no. I've had to redefine my life because as I've gotten older, I've decided to work full time. So before, you all don't know this, I kind of stayed home with my kids. So I worked part-time. With Valerie, I worked 2 days a week, then had 3 days off. Loved it. So I could be home with her to raise her. When Nick came along, I worked 1 day a week and was off pretty much the rest of the time. But it also makes it hard because you have to wear holy underwear. You have to have underwear that have holes in them. In other words, that means that you have to, like, not buy everything you want to buy. You can't just go out and get whatever you want. You have to kind of, like, you know, prioritize.
Yeah.
So you can't buy new underwear. You might just have to buy, you know, you might have to wear underwear that have holes in them. That's just an example. It's just an example of you have to say no a lot.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn to say no. And so now that the bills are bigger, they're more expensive. Everything's more expensive. Kids are more expensive because they're adults now and they have bigger things to take care of. And so I put that extra Wednesday in there. So now I work 5 days a week and it's tough. I find that I don't have enough time to kind of spend with Nick. I loved my Wednesdays off with Nick and I miss being home with him. But I also had to kind of prioritize things. And, you know, it's just hard because Nick also has things that he has to do for his job on days off. So, you know, we just kind of we don't have as much close to. So,
well, a lot of people don't realize how much work goes into streaming outside of stream, right? There's been multiple times that you've asked me to go do something, and sometimes I'll say yes, but majority of the time it's like, Mom, like, I know I'm not live right now, but I got to get done this YouTube video, or I got to schedule this, I got to do that. So there's a lot of work that goes into it that people don't realize. So I'm very glad that you brought up. But if you could give advice to anybody in here to balance their life more, what would it be?
Slow down. Like, sometimes you have to say no to things.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can say yes, but if you have to say no, don't feel guilty. Don't feel bad about it. Sometimes you just have to say no, I can't.
Yeah.
And I did learn that early in my life, and I am grateful for that learning lesson that I got. Because when you say yes too many times, you can get too many things on your plate, and then you don't have enough time for rest.
Yeah.
You gotta sit and watch TV a little bit. You gotta sit and read a book. You gotta sit and do whatever it is that you enjoy doing that takes you away from the stressors. Or they're going to get more and more and more the more you do. And then you don't have time to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So
slow down.
Slow down.
Yeah, and say no. It's
say
funny.
No
it's funny you mentioned that because in my new book, I just gave it to Logan because I finished it. But in that book, there's a whole chapter dedicated to saying no more. Because as a society, we're so we're so focused on pleasing everybody all the time, and people have forgotten, so to speak, to start saying no to things. So it's a very, very good point. You've done some pretty crazy stuff, I've done some pretty crazy stuff on stream. What's some of the craziest stuff that you've heard me say or heard me do? Is there anything that I've ever done anything on stream or said anything that you're like, what the fuck is this? Like, what was your reaction when I first got the maid outfit? Like, was there like, what the fuck are you doing moments?
I'm like, go for it, boy.
I mean,
enjoy even the shaving of the eyebrows. I was like, do it.
Yeah. Somebody offered $3,000 for my eyebrows. And I said, no, I'm not doing that, dude.
What's the big deal? Just shave the eyebrows. But he's like, I'm graduating from high school, Mom.
Yeah, that was a very important point, dude.
Graduation.
That was
important.
And
I'm over here, well, we can draw them in if you want to. We can do that if you want. So I'm wild and crazy. I feel like, there are moments in time when yes, you need to say no to drugs. Yes, you need to say no to drinking and driving. Yes, you need to say no to certain things, but there are other things that are harmless that you can say yes to and have a good time and have a memory. So I'm just big on memories, I guess. That's kind of where I'm at.
So me not having eyebrows during my high school graduation would not haunt me for the rest of my life?
I don't know if it would haunt you, or I just was like, if you want to do it, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
If you didn't want to do it, I was okay with it.
Yeah, no, I didn't do it, so to speak. Listen, man, I got really bushy eyebrows. Look at these,
right?
Look at these big ass.
You would look funny without them.
Yeah, I would have looked terrible.
And I wasn't telling you to do it. I was just telling you I was okay if you wanted to do it.
She saw how much money people were putting down, and she's like, "Yep, you gotta do it."
Right. But no, I mean, it wasn't even about the money. It was about the funny things look at me shaving your head.
Yeah. No, that was a crazy experience.
Look at me frying Oreos with you.
Oh, that was fun.
Do you remember frying Oreos? Yeah. We fried Oreos one time. And then one time we made a pie, I think. Didn't we make a pie? What did we make?
Something like that. Well, I made HelloFresh on stream a few times, which speaking about, not to be that guy, but I mean, used a factor meal code thing. Get 50%
me and Dad
off.
have decided to do that, by the way. So we're gonna
order it to grandmother's house so it counts. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna look at the menu tonight.
Because that meal or that 50% off is absolutely massive. So I mean, help me out.
And we're gonna get as many as we can, and I think you put them in the freezer anyway, right?
Yeah, you put them in the freezer. They come dry iced, I believe.
Yeah, so we're just going to order a whole bunch. And then if it's not too expensive, we might stay on it. But we can cancel it. But to get away from that, I wasn't coming on here to talk about that. But
no, I am.
I mean,
See,
I think it's going to make it easier for us.
That's the difference between me and you, Mom. I'm coming on here to talk about it. Are you kidding me? Come on now. All right.
Well, I research everything, chat. You're going to find that my kids think that I drive them crazy because they just want to make a decision and not look into it. And I'm like, oh no, you've got to go on and read the reviews. I don't have time to do that. Well, you better do it or you're going to find yourself with a bean bag with no beans.
Okay, all right. That actually is a very valid point.
Tell them what happened.
There was a very specific time. In fact, it's
just recent.
It's literally on her right now. That's
This is the beanbag, people.
Yeah. So I ordered something off of Amazon, and I should have read the 1.9 stars out of 5 stars review that said that the beanbag did not have the filling included, and I should have read that it also was a very frequently refunded thing, and so I spent $85 on a beanbag without beans.
With no beans in it.
It was no beans. There was no beans. Yeah, that was the first time in my life that I was like, wow, I should have read the reviews. Like, I was so happy to buy that shit, man. I was so excited for my I was so excited. And
well, he was just excited that he thought he was getting, so Lovesack has a great beanbag. We have a friend who has one. They are terrific. But they're $400 or $500.
Whoa. They're like $1,800 now. It's crazy.
Some of them they are $1,200. But he still wasn't going to spend that much. And so he was just so excited he was getting something for $85.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, whatever you think is right, And so here comes a bean bag with no beans in it. And I'm just like, well, did you read the reviews? And he's like, no. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, like, I'm just a review person, and I'm going to read what kind of reviews and what might be the problem. And if it's a big enough problem, I'm not going to buy it.
Yeah, so, I made that mistake very poorly. And
so getting back to Factor, I read the reviews. It's 9.9 out of 10, and everybody loves how it tastes. And so that's where I'm going with that. I read the reviews. It
you better
sounds
subscribe
great.
now.
We're going. So,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So
subscribe. Yeah. Woo.
Yeah. Woo. Woo. Subscribe.
All right. Anyway, about Factor, well, not about Factor. I did want to talk about the that beanbag. So you have the empty sack on. Yeah. So
right.
everybody
it
was
makes
like,
a good blanket.
Yeah. Well, everybody was like, well, Gino, you should return it. And I think that's a realistic expectation, but it was nice. It's like a nice silky.
It's a nice blanket. I will give you that. I love it.
And it's not like super. It's not super thick, so it's like it's a good summer blanket. So I kept it to keep it there.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's actually
I like it.
It's really really good.
Yeah.
Mom, you're an incredibly positive person. How did this come about? And have you always been that way? Like you mentioned earlier with bullying, you kind of changed the way that you thought about forgiveness and stuff like that. But have you always been a positive person, or how did that come about?
Yeah, I think I was always thinking of ways. I think because I wasn't very good at standing up for myself and talking out loud about how I felt about how people were treating me, I had to learn how to think more positively inside because I couldn't let it out on the outside. So when you can't let it out on the outside, you don't have any talk, you don't talk about things, you keep them all bottled up, then you have to think of a more positive way to look at things, or you're going to explode. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You're going to be an angry person that is always angry and negative because they haven't. And so I had to find another way of presenting things to myself so that I wouldn't be so mad.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. So that's how you being more positive came about? You just started expressing things?
Yeah, well, I started thinking differently in that I could see. Now, so the girl that used to bully me, I found out, I just recently connected with a friend who's a friend with her. She's had a really rough life, Nick, and she was brought up in a rough time. She was brought up in a rough family. And, she's just recently gone through losing some very important people in her life. And I think it's just the way her personality was. And she doesn't mean to be like that. And I kind of feel bad that she must have been in a place in her life that she had to go so low to make somebody else make somebody else feel so low that it made her look better. But in the long run, it doesn't make you look better. It just makes you look like a terrible person.
Yeah. No, 100%. It's so bully. That's why I have so much sympathy for people that, come on my stream and bully me and stuff and essentially, attack me, right? Like it all comes from a place of hate, and usually in order for you to hate on somebody, you have to be hate, or you have to,
kind of live that life.
Yeah, you have to be around hate, right? You wouldn't be able to express hate if you're surrounded by good people, and I'm a firm believer in that. So glad that you brought that up. Mom, I wanted to bring up, you are the mom of me. You are my mother. So there's a lot of people, I don't know if you remember, we did the fried Oreos on stream. There are a lot of people out there that don't have a mother figure and look at you as the mother figure of, the community and the stream and, Twitch and stuff. Do you mind that? And how do you feel about that? Like, do you mind having, 1,000 children, Like, is that a big deal for you?
I don't think about it because I just am who I am. And I care about other people. And if I can help somehow, I want to help. And that's just my nature. And that's my personality. And it's something that I enjoy doing. And I think sometimes me helping other people helps take my mind off of my own problem. And I think that's what I've learned as I've gotten older, is that the more I do for others, the less I worry about myself and what's going on with me. And sometimes that's how I can handle the hardships that I have, is by doing something wonderful for somebody else.
Yeah.
And that just helps catapult me ahead of my own sadness and my own problems.
I think I'm the same way. I think we are very similar genetically there, that's for sure. Because I feel like some of the worst days that I've ever had in my life, I've still helped other people to try and help myself.
Yeah.
So I'm very glad that we relate there, and I'm very glad that although, our food takes don't necessarily align, Mother, I'm glad that we can, share that with each other,
Yeah.
I wanted to talk, you're a very down-to-earth person, I'm your son, so I know this, but I wanted to ask you, have you always been that way? Have you always been down to earth? Have you always, understood everybody's feelings and stuff like that? Or was there a point in your life to where you kind of woke up a little bit? Or I wanted to ask about, being down to earth. Have you always been that way?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've always thought that way. I mean, it's just never, I don't know if it's growing up without the internet and without, because I'll be honest with you guys, you all are under a lot of stress with, how many friends do I have? How many people like me? And I had just that one person on the bus that was not liking me, and it was taking me down a level. I can't imagine having a gazillion friends who don't like you at some point in time on the internet and on your phone and on your TikTok and your Instagrams and all of that. And it only takes a second of saying the wrong thing for people to get the wrong idea. And then you have 100 people not liking you. That's a tough thing to live with every day, because that's how often you guys are on social media. And so, it's a different day and time now than what I had. I didn't have all those stressors. So I think my negativity and I just didn't have as much as you guys have to deal with.
Yeah.
So that's why it's different for me. And that's why I think I was always so down to earth, because I didn't have the stresses and the pressures of social media taking me in another direction. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes 100% sense. That I'm sure a lot of people feel that way. I think social media for me is rough. I don't really, there's a reason I fucking read nowadays at the end of my days. I don't want to be surrounded by negativity and people hating on me, or, people hating on my friends. It just hurts me. So I read and watch shows,
But there's good sides to social media. If there weren't social media, there wouldn't be you.
Yeah.
And you were a positive light in a lot of people's lives. Are there people that come on and drive you crazy, and you might not say all the great things that you need to say, but for the most part, you try to be very positive.
Yeah.
Try to be, uplifting. but without you, so that's a positive thing about the social media and the internet and all of that. So there are good and then there's bad. You just kind of have to remember to take out the toxic, because the toxic is only going to take you in the wrong direction.
You attract what you reflect, is what I always tell people.
Yeah.
You attract
Although
the people.
there are going to be people that come in and try to take you down. I mean, like they're just
like saint.
Just kind of their nature. It's just kind of their nature.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's sometimes the way they were raised. So, not like saint.
I made a funny, and I thought it was hilarious.
I know, you're trying to be funny.
Yeah, no, that was actually kind of fucking hilarious. I hope Saint is here to hear that. Anyway, Mom, I wanted to ask about the future. I call this section the future of Mama Genooo. Although I know everything coming up for you, anything big that you're excited for the next few weeks, the next few months, the next few years? Anything that you're excited for the future?
No. See, that's okay. So
also, you're a grandmother now, by the way.
I am, but you know what I've learned, Nick? I've learned to take one day at a time.
Yeah.
And I think the less I look into the future, the less disappointed I get. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And when I look at something big and major and I get all excited about it, and then something happens to make it not that, I'm learning that I don't want to do that anymore. I want to live each day. I want to love each day. I want to find the positive of each day. And then if there's a negative, then I just deal with it when it comes. But if I start thinking too high or too low toward the future, then I kind of get disconnected with what's happening right now. I want to enjoy that.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid way to feel. I wish more people felt that. I wish I felt that way. I mean,
it's hard to do.
As a streamer, you got to look at the future of things, the future of gaming, the future of everything. So, I mean, that's a good way to look at life, and I'm sure a lot of people can agree with you in chat. I feel like it's a very, very good thing. Mom, we're getting towards the end of the podcast. However, chat, I would, appreciate any of your guys' chat questions that you might have for Mama Genooo. But before we get the chat questions, I just do a little thing at the end of the podcast called Speed Questions. And it's basically like learning to get to know you, on a simple scale, right? I save the easiest questions for last. So that's what we're gonna do, Mom. You can feel free to answer as fast or slow as possible, but they're super easy. So, winter or summer?
Winter.
Okay. Dentist or a streamer? Like, what would you rather be?
Dentist.
Okay. Dream place to go?
Punta Cana.
Have you ever been there?
No.
Okay. Favorite place to travel?
Home.
You're a homebody? Okay.
Yeah.
Orange juice or coffee?
Orange juice.
And the last question, me or my sister? Which is your favorite? I'm not going to do that. I'm just joking.
Yeah, you ain't doing that because I don't have one.
Oh, man. Mom, I am so thankful for you being on the podcast today. We're not done just yet. I want chat to answer or ask some questions. So everybody better get their questions and stuff like that. But Mom, I really appreciate you being on the podcast. I know you were nervous for it, but hopefully my questions, you can tell, you asked me yesterday, like, why are the guests not nervous? And I'm sure they are, but like I ask questions that kind of like ease you into it, and I think that's kind of what we do with the podcast.
It's great. I won't worry the next time you want me to do this. I was not too sure if I was very good at answering questions because I'm not. I think too much. Yeah. I'm an overthinker, Nick.
Yeah.
I think you've told me that before. I try not to listen to that part of it. But
I'm an overthinker, so yeah. it makes sense.
I think you and I are a lot alike. In fact, I think you're my twin a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
We're a lot alike.
It's almost as if, you birthed me,
Maybe. A little bit, except for food.
Yeah. Food takes her a little off. Coffee asks, if you could get in the streaming game, do you have a favorite game? Like, is there anything that you would stream? You can stream IRL too, like your life. You know, like, could you imagine dentist streams? Like, that would be crazy.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah, that would be.
I would probably like that. Do they have such a thing or not yet?
No,
maybe you can make that up.
No, I don't think there's a lot of legalities there. I'm sure you would have to sign a lot of contracts and stuff.
Okay, so there was one that I played with my daughter when she was younger, and it's not a gaming thing, but it was a game that you went in on the internet or you went in on the computer and you did the bar. It was where you made food. And you could use all the dishes, and it was just a lot of fun, and I enjoyed that. There's a lot of
food games. Fun. I wonder which one you're talking about. I'm trying to think.
I don't know. I'd have to look it up. I think it was a Disney one, and it was where you went on with Mickey, and Minnie would be making, food, and you kind of mixed everything together. I also used to love the Barbie one where you cut her hair and you did all this stuff and I love that kind of stuff. So I like reinventing a person. So I like,
Okay. You did you like the one game to where you had to pull out like the organs? What is that game where you had the?
Oh yes, Operation.
Yeah. Were you a big Operation guy?
I was really good at that, so I got bored after a while because I could pull those things out without a problem. But
you were a mom, so you were able to do those little like nitpicky stuff. 100%.
Yeah, I could really.
How do you deal with Nick when he has a bad day of content or bad raids? That's a interesting question, because I'll be honest, you don't really know if I have bad raids or bad content sometimes, because I just go for drives and read books and shit.
Well, the one thing I do tell him when somebody is on there and he's trying to, they're bullying him and they're trying to tell him that he's no good because he lives with his mama and he's a mama's boy and he's never going to make it.
She's always like, block him.
I just go on and tell him, look, you can put up with so much of that and you try to talk them off the mountain. But if you can't, then you just eliminate it, because sometimes that's what you got to do on all of TikTok and everything is you got to block the haters. And sometimes it's just how it is. Yeah. You can try to get along with them, but if you can't, it's time to go, because you just can't put up with that, or you're going to be, mentally worn out.
Yeah.
But I just let him be alone. If he wants to read a book, I try not to ask him too many questions. I do say, how are you? How's everything? And I ask him that every so often.
She always asks me, how's chat?
How's chat? And I do put my fourth into, and he knows at all times that he can talk to me if it's serious enough. But I know that if he needs to go for a drive, now I will tell you, if I see that he needs more than one drive around, and I see that he's needing like 4 or 5 drives, then I know to ask him more questions and try to talk to him.
Which she has.
And I have.
Yeah. Trigger says, I don't have a question, but I love your mom, and I wish I had a mom like her in my life. She's great. Genooo, cherish her.
Aw, thanks.
Crutch asks, the coffee guy, is there any exotic lands that you'd like to try their coffee that I have not already sent? Are there any coffees that you would like to try? Have you seen anything online? Mama Genooo watches QVC a lot, so I'm sure there's a lot of coffees on there that are mediocre compared to Crutch's.
No, I really don't know too much about coffees. I just don't. I guess anything that doesn't break out my hands. I mean, like, it's just amazing how something as simple as too many oils or too many of certain things and how you produce things just can affect the inside of you. I think I need to go on the less acidic side rather than the acidic side, because it bothers my stomach.
Yeah.
And I just need too much creamer in those coffees to make it worth it. So I don't know too much about coffee, But
yeah, I think we got 2 more questions. If somebody else, if you guys want to ask anything else, feel free to type them out. 2 questions though. Does Mama G have any tattoos? Would she get one if not?
No, I don't have any. And no, I wouldn't get any. And it's not because I'm old. It's because I don't really love needles, and I don't love the thought of a needle putting an ink inside my skin. I'm kind of, since I've had Lyme disease, I'm just a little crazier about what goes in my body a little bit. And that's just because it's supposed to be less inflammation in your body to keep control of all the problems that you have. So I feel like ink is an inflammation. And so if I can keep that out, then that's what I do. So that's just the simple way.
What is your favorite saying / phrase that Genooo says?
What's my favorite?
Favorite saying / phrase. Like you used to say papega, but you used to say momega. You remember that?
I do remember that. We kind of got out of saying that.
Yeah, we don't say
we?
papega much, but is there any favorite saying / phrase that I say? I always call people brother. That's what I always call people.
Gosh, that's an interesting question. No, I used to have some. I like that you call yourself a lighthouse.
Yeah.
I love the lighthouse. The when you compare yourself to a lighthouse. I like that. I like the light coming out because there's a lot of darkness and you need the light.
Yeah.
Kind of keep you thinking the next day is going to be better.
Yeah, we actually just had there was a guild in our World of Warcraft realm, like our server, that they already took Lighthouse, so we had to make another one, and what I called us was the Light Keepers.
Yeah.
So that's what our guild is called.
Yeah, because when you think about darkness, that's how it looks when, you feel like it's all closing in on you, because you feel like there are times when I feel like all my friends are mad at me at the same time. And if I give it a couple of days, guys, it's amazing how they'll call me or text me. It's like they weren't mad at me at all.
Yeah.
And it was all my imagination. And here, if I had done something terrible to myself because I thought everybody hated me, it would have been all out of a lie. And sometimes you need a lighthouse that you can kind of go and see the light and say, you know what? It's not all for nothing. And that's kind of, it's been interesting as I get older and have more of the internet stuff and the phone, how texting can really be read the wrong way.
Yeah.
And I can read something that sounds like terrible from one of my friends, and they didn't mean it that way at all.
Yeah.
And here I am, distraught and depressed and sad and all of that. And in the end, when she texted me 2 days later, she didn't mean that at all.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's a perfect way to end the podcast. Mama Genooo, Coffee says Genooo is the lighthouse. Mama G is the beacon. So
thank you. That was sweet of you guys.
They love you, Mom. I love you. I'm sure I will talk to you after the podcast. I am going to head out of here, though. I thank you for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Nick.
Yeah, of course. Well, this is season finale.
Let me tell you, it was great.
Yeah, well, I told you it was going to be great. There was no worry involved.
But I didn't know what I was headed for and if I was going to have any answers.
Yeah,
so.
No, it's all good. I got to keep it going.
Okay.
Chat says that they love you.
Chat.
I'm gonna leave for you, Mom, so you don't have to do anything.
Okay.
Chat, I love you guys.
Bye,
Thank you guys for being here. Bye, Mom. Love you. Bye.
I love you.
Bye. Chat, you guys see me now. I love you guys. You guys, I hope everybody's having a good day today, man. I hope everybody's staying safe. It is a great day to have a great day. With that being said, I think I'm going to end stream. I've had a couple of long days recently, like dead ass, some really long days. So I think I'm just gonna take the time to kind of go go get some, maybe another cup of coffee, go to the gym, get everything settled, and then really hit it hard this next week for Factor. Hopefully Partner Plus by Wednesday. We really need tier 3 subs, tier 1 subs, tier 2 subs, whatever it may be. I checked last night. We're like 40 points away right now, which is absolutely massive considering we'll only have like 4 days. I believe it would be 3 days. Fuck. It's going to be scary. But we're going to try. Okay, we're going to try and push Partner Plus. All right. I wanted to say thank you guys. If you guys are listening to the podcast, thank you guys so much for being here. As always, stay safe, stay caffeinated. And this is going to be the season finale, so I won't see you guys for another month or two. All right. But be excited for the future because we are just beginning to share the stories. I love you guys. You guys have a great rest of the day. And I will see you guys very, very soon. Peace.